I love the fact that I can wear this now and it's super cozy, and I have yet to find a Christmas sweater like this that I love as much. And in case you guys can't see, it is my Marvel ugly Christmas sweater, and I love it so much, and I can't find anything that is similar to the make of it. So I'm just gonna wear this one again. Everybody, welcome back to another video. Today is a newish type of video, but a video I actually wanted to do in November but never got around to it because of just NaNoWriMo and being really busy. But this one I wanted to do, it's my new DNF Mini Reviews. So I received quite a few books from publishers and requested some books from certain publishers for review, and I found that when I was DNFing books, I wasn't giving them the review that the publishers were expecting from me when they sent me these books. So what I wanted to start doing is I kind of changed my process, if that's the right word, my process in doing especially review books, and that is the first 100 pages. So if I am not grabbed or hooked or pulled into a story by the first 100 pages, I DNF it. Or if I'm not liking it, or if the content's too much for me, but at least I'm giving it the first 100 pages to get my attention, to win me over, and I have a bit of an idea of why I didn't like it, why the writing wasn't pulling me in, or what the content was like. At least a little bit more of an idea. And then I'm going to do these mini review videos where I mention all of the books that I've DNF'd in a certain time period, and just let you guys know why I DNF'd these books. And the first one I'm going to get over with quickly because it was kind of a controversial read as to why I DNF'd it, and that is Renegades by Marissa Meyer. Yep, one of my most highly anticipated books of the year. I DNF'd within almost 100 pages. I was not impressed with it for certain reasons, and I also wasn't pulled into it. I was not getting into it. I was not getting into the characters. The main female character was already taking me off and was very much reminding me of Nim or Sophie Snow from Mary Weber's books, and I was already kind of turned off by that. The other thing I did not like, and I very much struggled with how to word and describe it for you guys, but it was the content for me as a Christian. And I'm going to just disclaimer, I know that this is in fact not a Christian fiction book. It is not written with that mindset or those ideologies or beliefs, and the author does not intend that way, or is, I'm not too sure if she's a Christian herself. So I know that for the fact that this is not written with a Christian mindset, so I'm not applying it because of that. But there are certain books still that as a Christian, and certain themes and ideologies and lifestyles that I do not read in my fiction, that I tend to DNF for because it does contradict a lot of my beliefs. So, and that's with anything that contradicts my beliefs, that or very strongly contradicts my beliefs. And which is probably the best way I can word this for you guys without singling people out, without making people feel upset about this. And I just had to DNF it. I understand it's not a worldview that I hold to, and that does not make the book bad or the idea bad in that sense, but as a Christian, to me, it is. So I DNF'd it for that reason. And like I said, again, it just was not pulling me in. It was not drawing me into the story like Marissa Meyer's books usually do, and I think that might have been a major factor that I was already put off. But I did give it the 100 pages go, and after that I just had to let it go and decide not to read it. If you guys have any questions about that, as always, you guys can leave comments down below and I will answer them honestly and openly. I've had a couple people comment on my Goodreads review of this already, which I have talked to people about, so I'm very open to talking to you about. It's just when I'm filming my videos, I try to be as politically correct as I can, which is strange to say as someone who's a believer that I'm not politically correct by the world's view, so it's hard to be politically correct. And that, like I said, that's the best way I can word this, and I just had to DNF it for my own personal beliefs and views and convictions. So I'm not saying it's a bad book. I'm not saying you shouldn't read it. I'm just saying why I didn't read it and why I DNF'd it. The next few books were either requests from publishers or sent to me from publishers or were ARCs. So I wanted to give these a mini reviews because I wasn't able to give the publishers their full reviews. So I'm going to give some mini reviews here as to why I DNF'd them. So the first book I want to talk about is Under a Summer Sky by Melanie Carson. This was through Nuts About Books with Bethany House. I saw it there, and Melanie from Christian YA Books and More said it was a really fun summer read, and I thought maybe I'll give a book out of my comfort zone a go. And it is actually book 3 in a series, so not only was I giving a book out of my comfort zone a go, I was also breaking my out of order rule, so that was actually very difficult. But because they're more of a companion series, you don't really need to read the first 2 books, which Melanie reassured me that that's okay. So I gave it a go. I'm not a romance person. I am not a contemporary adult romance person. I was already predicting what was going to happen. I was already annoyed with all of the characters I was meeting, and I just was not getting pulled in. It was like an adult version of the Christy Miller series where everything was just so peachy keen, and I was just, no, I couldn't do it. I could not do it. So I gave it, like I said, 100 pages go. Was not pulling me in, was not winning me over, so I DNF'd it. So contemporary romances, unless they involve Tolkien or C.S. Lewis, apparently, do not interest me. So I DNF'd it and will probably give it away for book credit. The next book was also from Bethany House, Nuts About Books, and that was High as the Heavens by Kate Bursling. I mistaked this for another World War book that involved the Normandy beach, and I forget which book that actually is, but I thought that this was the book about the Normandy invasion, which I wanted to read because my grandpa was part of the Normandy invasion. So I got this book thinking it was that, and it wasn't, because it's a World War I book, and I did not like this. The plot of it was good, the plot of it was interesting, but I got actually the 200 pages in here, but I was so mad at everybody that I DNF'd it, and I was just kind of put off also with some of the content. Like, this is a Christian fiction book, but as a young, single, unmarried woman, I don't need to know, like, they shouldn't go into too much detail, but I don't need to know the intimacies of the buildup of the wedding night. I don't need to know how much you miss the intimacies of your partner or how much you missed each other. It's just not, like, the build up of those scenes is almost as bad as writing those scenes, because even though you build it up and then you stop before anything happens, you've still already started something in the reader's brain, and I did not enjoy that, and just the intimacy of it was very unfortunate. There was also a abuse or a rape scene, which was also pretty close in description as well. Now again, nothing happened. She was able to get away before anything really bad happens, which is hard to, like, any attack is bad, but she was able to get away before she was actually raped. And again, the buildup of it, the drama of it was something that bothered me again. And just, there's ways to writing it without building up the intimate parts or the sexual graphic parts of those parts. And I found that Kate was very much more into building that up and then, like, cutting it off before the actual scene takes place. And I was just not a fan of that for content wise. And I'm very picky about that in Christian content, because as a young woman, I used to read books and they would do this fade to black intimacies where they would build everything up right up until the point, and then you'd wake up the next morning with them in bed, and it was still considered clean Christian fiction. So I do have a bit of more of a pickier problem with that, and I was just not impressed. The other thing I didn't like is there is a reunion of a husband and a wife, and I just got so mad at both of them because they were both in this, I'm keeping secrets from her to save her life, and I'm keeping secrets from him because I don't know if I can trust him. And I'm like, when you've been separated from your husband for that long and you've had all of those traumatic things happen to you, this would be the first person I'd want to confess all of this to. This would be the first person I want to trust. Or what was your marriage even built on if you can't even trust him and talk to him about what you're struggling with and what you're going through? Like, the concept of this was stupid, and I did not like it, so I DNF'd it. And that sounds harsh, but I hate that trope of, like, I can't tell you because you might change your mind about me. You married the man. He shouldn't change his mind about you. He should be there for you. So that's part of why I DNF'd it. It's just getting so angry at people. The next book was an ARC sent to me by Revel, and that was The Day the Angels Fell by Sean Smucker. I didn't even get 100 pages into this. I got 5 chapters. I was not pulled in. I did not know what was happening. I had no connection to the characters. There was some weird carnival fortune teller women around a table, and then some freaky woman that meets him in the alleyway and says nothing, and then he goes home. I don't know what this book is about. I like reading the synopsis. I still have no idea. I'm not drawn into it, and there's no connection. I have no idea what's going on. I have no pull that captures me to drag me into the story. So I made it 5 chapters in and DNF'd it. And there's not much more else I can say because I only made 5 chapters in. The last arc I got was Renegades by Thomas Locke, and this was our Coffee&Chapters Christian YA book club pick for November. Even though we did NaNoWriMo, we said you guys can still read this and the discussion group is still open. I made it like 100 pages in and I have no idea what's happening. Absolutely no clue what is going on. I read the first book and I felt like I was missing information in several parts in the first book, but I still mildly enjoyed it. This book, no clue. Absolutely no clue what is going on. I read 100 pages and I don't know why these characters are here. I don't know what they're doing. I don't know why this is happening to the twins, and I just don't get it. And so I was missing a lot of information. I felt there was no connection to the first book to fill me in on what was happening. So I was completely lost for 100 pages. And that's like almost a good half of the book because this is only a 200 and some page book. So I got about halfway through and had no clue what was going on. So I DNF'd it, obviously. So those are the books I DNF'd. And like I said as a disclaimer, so for like regular fiction books, I don't always make sure they uphold to my worldview because they are not written in my worldview. But if there are things in there that do oppose it, I simply DNF it. It's not something that I read. It's not something I agree with. I don't have to read it because I don't agree with it. So I'm not so I make the decision to DNF it. So definitely with regular fiction books that aren't written from a Christian perspective, I can DNF for certain reasons because I don't share the same things or they are just very contradictory to what I believe. So that's that disclaimer. Like I said, that does not make it in that worldview a bad book. It is probably still a very well done book, but it's just something that I could not read. For the Christian fictions, like I said, for High as the Heavens, with Christian fiction, I do have a different standard for what I expect for content and for upholding Christian values and beliefs. So I do have that when I'm reading Christian fiction for sure. So I'm a little bit harsher with content for those because I'm expecting Christian values, I'm expecting Christian beliefs. I'm not expecting them to be perfect, tidy, 100% the cleanest book you've ever seen because those get super boring. I'm still expecting hard-hitting stories, but I'm expecting the content to be presented in a different way, if that makes sense. But like I said, if you guys have any questions, you can leave them down below in the comments and I'll answer them as best as I can. So this is something new I'm going to try out doing, is just talking about the books I DNF, because before on my channel I was actually very nervous about talking about books I DNF because I didn't want people slamming me in the comments or arguing with me in the comments because of my views as a Christian or because of DNFing someone's favorite books. But I figure if I'm doing a justice to the books and I'm talking about content on my channel, I should mention a little bit as to why I DNF certain books. So I'm going to try this out. Let me know what you guys think, or if you guys like it or don't like it, or if you just prefer me talking about them on Goodreads as to why I DNF them. Because I do have a DNF shelf on Goodreads, and I do mention in there why I DNF these books. But as always, guys, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!